Hi, this is Luis with Artistry.io, and in this video I will show you how to set up and use the custom text element. I'll be using a business card demo that I had prepared, and the first thing I'll do is add a custom text element from the elements pop-up, and what I want to add here is the company name. Right, just enter the name here and click save. As you know, whenever you add an element to the design, you will see the elements box on the design, and I can drag around and resize this element from the design area. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put it like at the bottom of the business card. And what I'll do to show you how to use this element is I'll go down the all the settings that you have available for custom text. And as you can see, the first one that shows up here specifically for custom text is the placeholder text, which is basically a text that you pre-filled on the element so that when the design loads, it already has that text there. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put my company name here. Move it a little bit. Want it to be like at the bottom right there. And click save, and go ahead and preview it, see how it's looking on the front end. As you can see, the element is there and all the text options are there. We're gonna go one by one, so just hold tight. And after that, the next option that you see here is the lock text checkbox, which if you enable it, you will not allow customers to change the text. So this is good is if you have like a preset text that you need to be on the design, and you want it there, you want to use the app to show that text, but you don't want to allow the customer to change anything on the text. So actually, that's what I want for the company name, because I want all business cards to have the company name, and I won't allow customers to change it. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and enable this lock text checkbox here and save. And if we go back to the design, I'm gonna refresh the browser now. You'll see now the text is on the design. There is no text box for the customer to change anything on that text. So that's exactly what the lock text option will do. And I'm gonna leave the company name there for now. So the next custom text element that I want to add is for the person's name. So I'm gonna go ahead and enter the name will be name, and the label will be enter your name. I'm gonna go back to the design area and move it a little bit. Somewhere around there it should be okay. And for this one, I'll put enter your name, or sorry, your name in between square brackets, just to, visual cue for the customer to know that's where their name will go. I'm gonna go ahead and click save and preview it on the front end. And there is. Now I can put my name here. Nice. We already discussed the lock text option. I don't want to lock this text, so I'm gonna leave it unchecked. The next option it's is called is for the multiple text boxes. So if you check here, you will enable multiple text boxes. And I'm not gonna use that feature for this design, but I will enable it quickly just to show you how it works. So see now I check there and I save it, and if I go back to the front end, refresh the browser, now instead of a text box here where it usually shows up, there is a button to add many text boxes, and I can add one, move it around. There is no limit actually. I can add like as many as I want and so on. And each text box will have its own settings. All right, just pretty nifty. And then you can remove the text box with the X here. And so that's how the multiple text boxes work. But I don't want that feature for this design, so I'm gonna uncheck it to disable it and click save. The next setting you see there, it tells you show a multi-line text box, and right now it's enabled. So let's see how it's looking. As you can see, there's a multi-line text box where the customer can add more than more than one line. But actually, since it's just the name, I won't disable that because I just want a single text box. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. So I disabled it, and see how it works on how, let's save it and see how the single text box looks on the front end. And I think it works better in this scenario because since it's just a name, usually names don't have more than one line, right? Because all the features are working okay. So that's what the show multi-line text box option will do for you. Then after that, there is a section called text options, and it's like different text options that you can enable or disable. And the first one here is max characters, and that basically means like the maximum amount of characters that the customer will be able to enter on these to this add to this element. And by default, there is always like 500, which is like a really high number. But just to show you, I'm gonna go and make it like 8 and save it, and let's see what that does on the front end. So I'm gonna erase the placeholder and start typing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was the maximum number. And now when I try to enter 9, it's not gonna allow the customer. It won't allow the customer to enter more than 8 characters. And something important to think about here is that empty spaces actually count as one character, so just don't forget that. So, but I will allow the customer to enter, I don't know, like what's the longest a name could be, let's say 100 characters, just to make sure that everyone can put the whole name there. And if we refresh it now, I will be able to enter my whole name without, running out of characters. The second option that you see here is like the required option, and if you enable it, it will require the customer to enter something on that in that text box. So I'm gonna enable it and hit save and see what it does on the front end. And you see now, since it's required, there's gonna be an asterisk to indicate like the name is required. And I'm gonna delete everything there and try to add it to the cart. And as you can see, the app won't let me. Since it's required and it's empty, it's gonna show me a warning sign, and it's going to tell me the error that's causing that warning. And if I enter the name and try to add it to the cart now, the errors will disappear. So actually, I want people to enter their name, obviously. So I'm gonna keep it required. The next option that you see there is the font size. So I would say I will make it 36. Hit save and preview it again on the front end. That looks about okay. 36 will make it. And right next to it, there is an option called Enable Font Resize. And right now it's enabled. And if you go to the front end, you'll see the customer can decrease or increase or decrease the font size. But I actually don't want customers to do that, so I'm gonna go ahead and disable it. And what it does on the front end is that, as you can see now, the buttons to increase or decrease font size are not there, and I will leave it like that. And the next option is the text align, which is basically text horizontal alignment, and by default is always allowed to center. But actually for this one, because later when I add another element, I want it to look like a line to the left. So for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and click on the drop down here and select left. You could do right if you wanted to, but I'll do left. And click save and preview, see how it's looking. So you can see now it's aligning left, and something to consider is that this alignment is in relation to the text box, not to the whole layer where the element is, but it aligns in relation to the text box. And the next option that we see here is enable text align, and basically it's whether you want the customer to be able to change the text alignment. And and it's enabled right now. So let's see how it's looking on the front end. As you can see, the alignment options are here, and the customer, we could click one of the alignment options, and the text will change accordingly. But for this one, I don't want customers to align, so just I will go ahead and disable it and save. Go back to the front end and refresh the browser, and as you can see now, the text alignment options are not there. Great, we're almost done. Um, the next option is called the vertical align, which basically is obviously how the text aligns vertically in relation to the text box again. You have three options. It could be top, middle, or bottom. And for this one, I want it to align like right on the middle. And I'm gonna go ahead and click save. See, that looks better aligned with middle alignment. The next option is line height, and for this one, hold tight because I will talk about this for the next element that I'll create. But the default is one. But I'll come back to this like in this video in a minute. Before I do that though, let's go ahead and talk about the font color options. Here in the on the first text box, you can enter a hex value directly. You know, you can just type it, or you can use the color picker that will open to select a color for this text. And I'll leave it like that for now. So if you click save and go back to the front end, you'll see that now it's the text, the color, sorry, the color that I selected before. And next to that, there is an option called enable font coloring, and that's whether you want to allow the customer to change the color of the text or not. And you have three options. It can be no or none. You can allow the customer to change it with a free color picker or with a color palette. And right now the free color picker is enabled, and if you go to the front end, you'll see that there is a color picker here, and the customer can click on it and change the color. Let's go ahead and click no, none, and see what happens. Save it, and let me go back to the front end and refresh my browser. So now you see the color picker isn't there. And besides non-free color picker, you can also enable a color palette to select the color, and you can, let's go ahead and click on it and see what happens. So after you click on it, you'll see these options here. This will tell you which color palette is active right now for this text element, which is none because we haven't done that yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and click on set external color palette, and when I click on it, a modal pop-up will show up where I could select color palettes to apply to this text element. But since we haven't created any color palettes inside this design, there is none there. So I'll go ahead and click on new color palette. And as you can see here, the new color palette options opened. And we're gonna discuss color palettes in detail in another video. But for now, let's just say the color palette name will be text color, and then the label we'll use is enter text color, or sorry, no, should be select text color. And then again, I promise you there's gonna be another video talking about color palettes. So I'm gonna skip this part now, and I'm gonna go ahead and add three colors. Just do black. I'll also do red, somewhere around there, and I'll do blue. I'm gonna go ahead and save it. And if I go to the front end now, I see another element area here. It's called select text color, which is the color palette that I created before. And if I change this, the text color will change. So the difference between these and the color picker are basically two. One, um, it's not a free color picker that I'm using. It's like some predetermined colors that I can set up. And also the second difference is that instead of showing like embedded in the text element, this area over here, it's like an external color palette. And that will make more sense when I add the next element. So let's go ahead and do that. The next element that I want to add here is another custom tags, and I want to use that for the address. So you gotta go ahead and label it should be enter your address. I'm gonna go back to the design area and try to align this nicely with the previous element. It's gonna be a bit taller than the one before. You just click save now, and we already went through all these options. And for this one, I'm gonna keep the multi-line text box option enabled. So I won't change that. I will also make a required. We already went through all these options. Gotta make a left align, and I don't want the customer to align it, so you're gonna disable this part. Actually, I will disable the font resize too. And for vertical align, I'll keep it top, just so it aligns nicely with the above, the element above it. And for the line height, let's go back to this because I promised you we were gonna discuss this when on the next element. And here we are. So let's go ahead and save it now and see how it's looking on the front end. And as you can see, the enter your address option is there. But before that, let's go ahead and put a placeholder. Forgot to do that. Gonna use our address here. So that's gonna be the placeholder. So when the customer opens the design, placeholder text will be there. And thus you can see, if you go back to the admin area, the line height by default is 1. And this one you can see the line height. Basically that means the space between lines. And I wanted like more space here. So I'm gonna make it something like 1.2, a bit more. 1 point, oops, 1.5. No, too much. Let's do 1.3. That looks okay. So if I go back to the front end now and refresh, you'll see the area now is a bit, more white space. So that's what I'm looking for. Just gonna put a fake address here. So that's oh, that's like a long zip code. That's what the line height option or setting will do. And we already talked about the font color, and this is where I wanted to go with the back to the font color and go back to the color palette option and show you this really nice trick. So if I do set external color palette now that I have a color palette in the design, the text color palette will show up here. So I'm going to select it and click save. And the nice thing about that is that if I go back to the front end now and refresh it, with one color palette, I can change all the text color on the front end. So instead of having like different color pickers and the customer will have to select their colors like one by one, having and a benefit of having an external color palette is that one color palette will change all the text, all the text that you enable on in the design. Okay, that's pretty nice, right? And the last option that we need to talk about is the font, which is basically the font type. Um, the first option here is a drop down where you can select the font type for that element, the default one, and I'm just gonna select one random here just to make it fun. Click save and let's see how it looks on the front end. So, it has like a different font. And the next option is a button that says whether you want to enable font options. So if you want to allow the customer to select a font options, you click on this button and a pop-up modal will open with all the font options in the app right now. And you can select like one by one all the ones you want, or you can use these buttons to select all or just clear all. So I'm just gonna go and let's do select all. See what happens. Now I'm gonna save it again. And if I go back to the front end, now for this for the address I have a drop down where the customer can select the font for that element. Okay, so that's all the settings for the custom text. Um, Thank you for watching the video and please let us know if you have any comments or questions.